Well, hello and welcome to this edition of Pimp My Diecasts, where we're going to be doing part 2 of the classic Graupner kit, the Elke fishing trawler, which roughly translated from German is elk, and I am a rough translator. Anyway, first off, I'd built up the prop shaft and propeller. Checking it, it's a snug fit. And it was even snugger while I was gluing it, but that's another matter. The heat expanded and I think it has a coating on it that possibly melted, but anyway it released and it's back together again now, with appropriate things which you'll see later, and that's the motor on the platform, which we'll be seeing that later. Well, we'll see it now. It's a switched motor, which I'm not sure what the switch does, to be honest. I'd have to look it up. I think it's a Graupner motor. I've not looked proper. I've got the box, I'll have a look. Have a look why I have the switch, whether it may be a forward and reversing switch. Field polarity if you wire it up the opposite way around. You can flick the switch and reverse polarity. I don't know, I'll have to check. It's a 5-pole motor anyway, which should give nice smooth running and responsive running. And here we're drilling a hole through the hull to accept the prop shaft. It has to be nice and level in both directions. Some boats you drill it diagonal to the, depending on angle, to the hull going up, so it takes the prop shaft end above the waterline, which it's not really needed if your prop's assembled well and you pack it with grease. Inside water shouldn't be getting in. And here I've put on a bigger drill to take it up to the appropriate size for the prop shaft. Well, prop shaft outer. There's obviously the prop shaft and the prop shaft outer. The actual prop shaft's lying down there in top left corner on top of my drills box. And there we go. Actually there I didn't, the battery had flattened, but I drilled it by hand eventually. And here we go, we're having a fitting of the prop. Seeing how it goes in. And here, I don't think I've put glue in at that point. Testing it spins readily. We're going to glue the prop shaft, the universal joints on. I've checked with it. What I've done, I've basically done a dry run so I know I've got my alignment. And it's all nicely aligned. So there I'm running epoxy in. Araldite, or I'm just using cheap epoxy from the quid shop. It'll do the job. All it is to hold it in place, glue it and seal it from the outside water, which it'll do that adequately. It doesn't have to be a really strong bond. It will be, but it doesn't have to be. But yeah, while it's drying, make sure it's all lined up so it keeps the prop shaft in line. And also I'm setting it the distance I want it for coming out. How much I actually want sticking out of the end underneath the hull. You only need a little bit stuck out, depending on the type of boats obviously, but this trawler, it only needs a little bit stuck out because it's in a prop shaft housing and propeller housing. Some aren't in housing and come diagonal through the hull. It depends on type, I suppose. And there now the epoxy's in, you can see it's turned white as it's gone hard and it's a nice solid bond. I've taken the prop shaft down, and what I'm doing now, I'm filling the shaft with grease, or should I say just shoving a little bit down the shaft, and when I put some grease actually over the shaft and shove it down, it'll take the rest down with it. And that's how I'll rub some grease along the prop shaft. Oh, matron. And once that is done, I'll slide it. This is just sounding like porn. I'll slide it into the chair. Bad man. Anyway, here we go. Just checking it's turning nicely. Props turn. Oh no. I'm actually screwing the propeller onto the end of the shaft. Making sure it's all fitting in there snug. And that's going to be a nice snug fit. There's just enough of the actual prop shaft outer tube to be just over level when I put some filler on the propeller housing. Anyway, at this point I'm roughing up the insides. The guy had glued the mortar and, well, he glued the mortar and the motor mounting board in before he'd actually done the prop shaft. So he'd done it the wrong way around and he'd had to break it out. But he hadn't done it proper anyway. He hadn't roughed up the hull, so he broke it out easy. That won't break out easy now because it's epoxied in, and I've roughed up the ABS with rough sandpaper, so it should have a good purchase. And here I am, I'm putting in the actual epoxy. I've run some underneath and I'm running some on top, so the mortar mounting is solid into the hull. I've put a little bit more round the propeller. Prop shaft make extra sure. And here I'm dropping some of the epoxy resin into the end, the outside end. Just make it nice and water sealed. I'm actually going to be car filler in that, so it doesn't make that much difference really, but it should be nice and sealed. at the same time making sure I'm not getting filler in the actual rudder tube. And there we are. The propeller's actually mounted and I'm twisting that from the shaft manually. And when you put it in, it's actually made, there's a universal joint on it. I've put in and greased. So the universal joint is good. One of the mistakes the guy made before, there's multiple. I'm discovering and stripping it down. He'd assembled the rudder, but I stripped it down because he hadn't followed the instructions. The instructions tell you the thickness you should take each half down to, and each half should be 4mm thick, and each half were about 6mm thick, so it was about 4mm oversize. So I had to take 2mm off each side roughly, getting it down to size. I did it on both halves of the shell. So, and here we are, that's where we needed to be. And I drilled out the top to the size of the rudder shaft. Well, rudder outer shaft. No, it's the rudder inner shaft, sorry. The outer shaft is actually mounted, he's already mounted it into the... You can see it there just. Anyway, we mix some standard everyday car filler. It is a bit porous to water car filler, but it's not living in the water day in, day out, so it won't get through the paint layer. It's just in and out again, so it's a good enough product to do what it's doing. It won't live in the water long enough to absorb any because it'll be under a thickish paint layer. And I'll be using automotive paints as well, so it'll be sealed is what I'm saying. Anyway, finishing off that job. And here what I'm doing, I'm super gluing the halves together of this. It will be filled after super glue, then zip kick. The actual inner rudder bar is actually flat at one end, and I've put a piece of plastic card on each side to widen it out, so it touched the sides of the rudder inside. Glued it so it won't spin round on it, and there, it's not fully on, but with to sand down and refill again, then sand again. It's a long laborious job I won't be putting on the video. Anyway, thank you for watching. If you're enjoying this series, please subscribe if you haven't already subscribed. Thank you to me subscribers who already have. And anyway, I'll see you in the next video. Tatty pie, people. Tatty pie.